Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Stencil Saturday design. Again this week we are working with the Tumbler Stencil, and if you'll notice when you look at what I've marked here, when I had this stencil made, I started to realize that I wanted to have a lot more options in a stencil, and so with this particular one I had some reference dots put in. And you can see them here. These ones, they're an inch apart. And then I had some reference points put in the center, as well as along this edge here where they join. I had some ideas of what I wanted to use those for, but some of the other ones were just, it's not hurting anything to be there, and if they'll come in handy for some type of design that myself or maybe one of you come up with, then it's going to make that much easier. So this design, one of my favorite things to quilt are lines. So we're just going to use a straight ruler and we're going to connect some of these dots and get a really cool illusion type design. And at the end I'll give you another option how you can change it a little bit. But one of the things that I am going to want to do when we get to that option at the end of the video is I want to be able to quilt some vertical lines. And if you can see these dots, so because the tumbler is flipped, this dot and this dot line up because these two tumblers are going the same direction. These two dots do not line up, and I want to stitch straight lines using these dots to do that. So what I'm going to do before I even start is I have just a ruler. It's a thin little ruler, and I'm going to use my marking pencil to just mark a line here. So I will have these lines. It's not very easy to do on the machine, but oops. And I want to mark this set as well. They don't need to be dark, I just need to be able to see where they are. And then I'm going to do the other ones. Make them over here. And to mark these two. I could do this now. Generally I would just do it by eye, but I know that we're going to stitch over top of these, and once I stitch, some of these little dots might disappear because when you stitch over the chalk it can disappear. So we mark these last ones on the right here and then we'll be ready to go. This one's really easy to stitch and it goes really fast. Okay, so that's taken care of. So let's get started. And the reason I said this is easy is it's nothing more than, so I'm going to start, and I hope you can see it. We're going to start with this first dot. And what we're going to do, well, this first one we're going to just stitch that line of the tumbler. Then we're going to scoot down, and each line we're going to go from the first dot down on this side to the first dot over here. And we're just going to continue doing that the whole way across. So let me get started here. Get a hold of this. Grab my ruler. Okay, so first we're just going to stitch across on this line. Oh, let me change my stitch length. That was for sewing my square on. Okay, and now there was a dot there that I sewed to, right to here, and then up. So for this next line, I'm going to travel down here to the first dot. So I'm right on that dot, and I'm going to sew from this dot to this dot. So just line up my ruler. Aiming right for that dot. I hit that, I just shift my ruler and head to this next dot over here. And I'm going to do that for each line. Come to that one, and now we're heading for the dot over on this side. Travel down to the center dot. Now the center one's going to be straight, so I can just stitch straight across, hitting each one of those dots. Shift my ruler. Now travel down to the next dot, and I'm going to connect that with the next one. Going across. And they're at a slight angle. That's kind of what makes this design, I think, look so neat. It's almost like an optical illusion. So then this one is just the line that the stencil marks. Again, we'll just travel down to that next dot. Connect these dots. And then to the dot on the outside. Travel. This again, this one's straight across. Just aiming to hit right on those dots. Down to the next one. And this one's at a slight angle. Back up to this one. Missed it a little bit, but that's all right. Travel. Stitch the line of the stencil. Travel. Connect that dot to the we're in the center here. Back up to this next one. We have one more straight across line. Travel. That dot, next one, and then this one, and then the last stencil line. Now, to me, let me scoot over here a little bit so you can kind of see. I'm not sure how much of that you can see, but the lines make this really cool illusion. It almost looks like these bend. So what I like to do is go ahead and stitch these vertical lines too, because I think it really kind of pronounces that illusion. So let me go ahead and stitch these, and then I'll move this so you can see what I mean. Okay, so now I hope you can see it in the video. I know it's always kind of hard to see that kind of stuff on there. But what happens is it almost looks like these little panels that are kind of bent. Like, well, you can see it one way or the other. Like, to me, these ones look like they're bent down, and these ones look like they go up. But it creates awesome texture and movement that you see in there. So there is one other option that we can do with this to change it even more. I mean, I like it just like this, mostly just the lines, but I'm going to go ahead and erase some of these chalk lines so you can see it better. Okay, so for the option that we have, we're going to go ahead and those lines that I've marked before we started, I'm going to go ahead and stitch those. And so what it does is it makes a super dimensional grid, which is very, very cool. And you can use it as just the grid, or you could even go back at the end and maybe fill in, you know, every other grid thing. And I did realize that if I turn this light off, you can at least back here in the back kind of see the texture of just the lines. I mean, it's very cool. I think it's just interesting because the way the lines come in and then go back out and get narrow and wide. So let me turn this back on and we'll go ahead and stitch these lines, which is very easy. I'm just going to start over here on the side. Getting all these little fuzzies here. And grab my ruler. I'm just going to go back all the way left to right, stitch all of these lines. But it really does change the design up. Just travel over there. And bypass that one because I had already stitched that one between the tumblers. Bypass that one already stitched. Okay, let me pull this out of here so we can have a look at it. Okay, so it is, I mean, I just love this. Let me see if I can move the camera here so you can see it a little bit better. And maybe if I turn this off. I mean, it makes a really neat, it's just such a dimensional illusion that it creates. I really, really, and for the ease of it, you know, you're really just quilting from dot to dot to dot, and then you put in some vertical lines and you have this really cool design. So I hope you guys have enjoyed that and that you might try playing around with this design. Like I said, you could take this and even come back in and maybe you want to, you know, fill in every other grid space, or maybe you wanted to you could make it even a smaller grid if you wanted to, and mark your own lines instead of using the dots that were in the stencil. Okay, so I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you next week. Bye.